I am continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. In our last reading, we finished Benjamin's address. They recorded the covenant that the people made with God, and Mosiah is now king. Benjamin retires for the last 3 years of his life before he dies of an extreme old age, and the people all have peace. We pick this up now in chapter 7. But chapter 7 is a little long again, so we're going to divide it into 2 videos. Our first video will be verses 1 through 15. Ammon finds the land of Lehi-Nephi, where Limhi is king. Limhi's people are in bondage to the Lamanites. Limhi recounts their history. A prophet, Abinadi, had testified that Christ is the God and Father of all things. Those who sow filthiness reap the whirlwind, and those who put their trust in the Lord shall be delivered. And now it came to pass that after King Mosiah had had continual peace for the space of 3 years, he was desirous to know concerning the people who went up to dwell in the land of Lehi-Nephi, or in the city of Lehi-Nephi, for his people had heard nothing from them from the time they left the land of Zarahemla. Therefore they wearied him with their teasings. And it came to pass that King Mosiah granted that 16 of their strong men might go up to the land of Lehi-Nephi to inquire concerning their brethren. And it came to pass that on the morrow they started to go up, having with them one Ammon, he being a strong and mighty man and a descendant of Zarahemla, and he was also their leader. And now they knew not the course they should travel in the wilderness to go up to the land of Lehi-Nephi. Therefore they wandered many days in the wilderness, even 40 days did they wander. And when they had wandered 40 days, they came to a hill, which is north of the land of Shilom, and there they pitched their tents. And Ammon took 3 of his brethren, and their names were Amaleki, Helam, and Hem. And they went down into the land of Nephi. And behold, they met the king of the people who were in the land of Nephi and in the land of Shilom. And they were surrounded by the king's guard, and were taken, and were bound, and were committed to prison. And it came to pass, when they had been in prison 2 days, they were again brought before the king. And their bands were loosed, and they stood before the king, and were permitted, or rather commanded, that they should answer the questions which he should ask them. And he said unto them, Behold, I am Limhi, the son of Noah, who was the son of Zeniff, who came up out of the land of Zarahemla to inherit this land, which was the land of their fathers, who was made a king by the voice of the people. And now I desire to know the cause whereby ye were so bold as to come near the walls of the city, when I myself was with my guards without the gate. And now for this cause have I suffered that ye should be preserved, that I might inquire of you, or else I should have caused that my guards should have put you to death. Ye are permitted to speak. And now when Ammon saw that he was permitted to speak, he went forth and bowed himself before the king. And rising again, he said, O king, I am very thankful before God this day that I am yet alive and am permitted to speak, and I will endeavor to speak with boldness. For I am assured that if ye had known me, ye would not have suffered that I should have worn these bands. For I am Ammon, and am a descendant of Zarahemla, and have come up out of the land of Zarahemla to inquire concerning our brethren, whom Zeniff brought up out of that land. And now it came to pass that after Limhi had heard the words of Ammon, he was exceedingly glad, and said, Now I know of a surety that my brethren who are in the land of Zarahemla are yet alive, and now I will rejoice, and on the morrow I will cause that my people shall rejoice also. For behold, we are in bondage to the Lamanites, and are taxed with a tax which is grievous to be borne. And now, behold, our brethren will deliver us out of our bondage, or out of the hands of the Lamanites, and we will be their slaves. For it is better that we be slaves to the Nephites than to pay tribute to the king of the Lamanites. Ammon is a descendant of Zarahemla. Zarahemla was the king of the people in the land of Zarahemla, or the Amalekites. So Ammon is of royal descent. But this is easily 120, 130 years after the time of Zarahemla and Mosiah, when Mosiah the first meets Zarahemla. That was 120 years earlier, easily. So when it says Ammon is a descendant of Zarahemla, he's most likely, because Zarahemla would have been a fairly well-aged man by the time Mosiah found him, he's most likely a great-grandson. That's about the generation I would put him in. Now, Ammon might be a bit older, probably in his 40s, but still, I would put him at least 3 generations later. And so he is actually kind of in the same generation as Limhi. Anyway, I like this whole thing. They get lost in the wilderness. They don't know how to get there, which makes sense. Zeniff, he leaves during the reign of Mosiah, so he goes. Most of the people who come with him probably came out of the land of Lehi-Nephi, so they knew how to get back there. But this is 120 years later, and well, it's about 75 years after Zeniff left. The people living now have never been to Lehi-Nephi. Ammon doesn't know the way because nobody living in Zarahemla has been to the land of Nephi. So they get lost and they wander for 40 days. Now, it's not that they're going in a straight line for 40 days. They're wandering around. They're trying to find their way. And they can't find it. They can't find the land. Eventually they do, though. It takes them 40 days to get there. They get lost. And we'll see this a lot in this time period. There is a lot of people getting lost. Even the Lamanites get lost. And we know the Lamanites attacked the land of Zarahemla. So I want to point this out, is that, and I'll talk about this a little bit more in detail when we get to Alma and the sons of Mosiah's missionary journeys, but we start seeing this indication that the Lamanites are not a unified people. When it talks about the king of the Lamanites, this could very likely be a local king that has brought the people of Limhi into bondage, and not a king over all the Lamanites, because the Lamanites appear to have been more of a feudal type organization where local kings rule over small areas, and then they pledge their fealty, their loyalty to a central king. But the central king's power is based on the strength and loyalty of the local kings. And so the Lamanites who attacked Zarahemla might have been a different group of Lamanites to the ones that are bringing Limhi into bondage. And so the ones that bring Limhi into bondage, as we will see later, they get lost in the wilderness because they aren't the ones that attacked Zarahemla. They aren't the ones that know the way. Now, of course, the Zarahemla has had continual peace for like 50 years now. No fights with the Lamanites, so even if it was the same group, it's likely that there's nobody there who remembers how to get there. But it's also very likely that it's not the same Lamanites. The Lamanites are divided into these different groups. And as I say, we'll see this more clearly when we get to the story of the sons of Mosiah. But we can see signs of this here. And on the last note, I love Ammon's reaction to the king Limhi. He has 16 men. They all camp out on this hill north of Shiloh. Now you have Nephi, the land of Lehi-Nephi, you have the land of Shiloh, you have the land of Shemlon. That's kind of how it goes. They're camping on a hill just north of Shiloh. The king is out, says Ammon, and 3 of them come up, so 4 of them come down off the hill to explore the area. See, they don't know they don't know they found the people they're looking for. They've been wandering for 40 days. This is probably what they've done. They probably go to a good place, they camp out, and then they send out a scouting party. Look out over the area. Is there anybody here? Or have we found the people we're looking for? No? Okay, now let's move to the next hill.
It's George.
It's George. Close the door.
And be quiet.
Yeah, I'll be out in a few minutes. So they just send out their scouting party again. And they run into the king Limhi with his guard. They are taken prisoner. Limhi tells them, look, I don't know who... And this is the other thing that you got to note here, is that the Lamanites are the one that they were cursed with the dark skin. Ammon and his brothers, his men, they're not. Why did Limhi not recognize them as being Nephites? He may well have. But he may have thought that, first of all, they may have been of the priests of Noah. It's been a number of years, maybe. But there have also been a lot of dissensions from the Nephites to the Lamanites. So he doesn't know if these Nephites are friendly or if they've joined the Lamanites. And he tells them, look, I want to know who you are. I want to know where you're from. And I like Ammon's response. Look, I've got no problem. I understand. If you knew who I was, you wouldn't have arrested me. Let me tell you who I am. And Limhi is overjoyed. And we'll see a little bit more about that as we continue in chapter 7 here. So I will read that in the next video. See you there.